Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Business of Education. I'm your host, Kyle Walgren. Today's guest is Ryan Palmbaum, a former NCAA Division I soccer player, but now has jumped in the world of the education technology space, building a cool new product called Dabbl Discovery that's going to help teach people around the world with a new exciting way to do so. Ryan, how are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited. I love talking to early founders. I'm one myself. I've got quite a few years in business, but the tech world's new to me. So I felt like I should be talking to people, learning as much as I can and trying to help them the same way. So thank you for coming on the show. Ryan, why don't you tell us a little bit about Dabble Discovery?
So I created an educational short form video platform where only the top industry professionals and experts in the world can post content um, called Dabble Discovery. We're trying to help people, young people, people switching careers, trying to figure out what they are most passionate about, and in short ways, in a short amount of time, and just showing them what options are out there from the most experienced people in the world.
When you came up with the concept, what were your hopes? What were you wanting to solve? Why'd you come up with the concept?
Yeah. So my whole life, I've loved learning. I've been a lifelong learner. Like you said, I traveled all over the world. Lived in 3 different continents, in over 10 countries, playing soccer. I was learning about all these different cultures, new languages, and on top of being an athlete, I also, I love to learn about different skills and hobbies and things like that. So I became a painter, a graphic designer, video game programmer, a musician, and a lot of other things that actually have stuck until today. But when I was in college, I saw this trend where me and my friends, not just my friends, but me and a lot of younger people were falling into this brain rot kind of rut on these social media sites that are filled with misinformation and mindless content and really like dangerous trends. I've seen people die from trends on TikTok, Instagram, things like that. And I decided I wanted to build something
Right.
that was positive and had similar aspects. Took the best aspects from those platforms, but turned it into something positive.
Is there a age group that you guys are focused on right now? I think the concept's awesome. I would use something that would just drive, engaging educational content myself. I love learning. I love everything every time I turn on a social platform, I'm looking to learn something. So, you know, what ages are you guys focused on right now?
Yeah, so our main demographic is college age kids, students. But it's interesting. I don't really like to think of our demographic as an age necessarily. I like to think of it
Hmm.
as a curiosity level, because there are people in every age group that are interested in learning and interested in learning new things. So you can find a 5-year-old who's just as curious as an 80-year-old. Um,
Sure
so
can.
a lot of it's interesting. We see a lot of interest crossover between demographics, especially from young kids from like 5 years old to about 23 years old, because in that stage of life, they're kind of in this uncertain, vulnerable stage where they're trying to figure out who they are, become individuals, figure out what they like, what they don't like, what they want to do with their careers. Um, and so a lot of the content that's ideological and lets the user think, the creators that we have ask them questions through the videos, and those types of videos do really well with across demographics, which is really cool to see.
It sounds super cool. It sounds like you're heavily into sports, traveling around. Obviously, Division One means that you're no slouch when it comes to playing soccer. Uh, do you do the technical aspect of it? Are you the visionary? What's your role
So
within the
I'm a
company?
non-tech founder, similar to you. But yeah,
Hmm.
no, I'm more of on the creative side, business side. But I think one thing that I've done well is I've surrounded myself with a lot of great technical advisors, that have helped me along the way, and I've never been too proud to ask for help. And I think that's a huge bonus to what I've learned in my life. Is you always people want to help inherently. People are interested in helping. So yeah, I've surrounded myself with great tech um, advisors, and I just I'm on the creative side, and I'm on the idea formation side, and I do everything else behind the scenes. But the tech side, I go through my advisors for that.
No, I'm happy you answered that question like that. As you said, I'm a non-technical guy too, and asking questions has been my best asset, I think, and that's probably been my whole business career is going out and asking questions and wanting to learn from people that know more than me has always been a great opportunity. I think what a lot of young people kind of look past, or maybe if we could get like one message across today, is like it's okay to ask people questions, and if they are, quote unquote professionals in that space or experts, they enjoy actually
Yeah,
helping you. You know what I mean? It's not an inconvenience at all. Um, when somebody gets the opportunity to spread
yeah,
knowledge. So I hope, if any young or new founders or inspiring entrepreneurs listen to this episode, I hope they take that away from it, because that is something that's really helped drive my company. It sounds like that's something that's really helped you as
definitely.
well. Being so young, coming into a space, building a business, what are some of the challenges younger entrepreneurs do? Like, I'm almost 40 years old. I've got a lot of experience in life. You're coming out of college, you played sports, and being a division one soccer player, you spent a lot of time on your craft, clearly. So what are some of the challenges you're seeing coming into being a young or a young CEO, right out of school?
I think a lot of the challenges are just that it's all new. It's a new space, and I've never been one to not continue to learn about what I'm doing. But it is a challenge when you don't know much about where you're starting. And I think the hardest part for a young person that's jumping into basically a career that they have no experience in, um, the hardest part is just starting. Uh,
Yeah,
and
I like that.
yeah, I mean, for me, I've never had a problem with that. At 16, I was going to high school in California, and I decided that I wanted to be a professional soccer player. So I packed up and I moved to Greece, and I was in Greece
Oh, wow.
at 17 years old, playing second division professional soccer. So I just make a decision and I jump on it. And I think one thing for young founders, or probably founders everywhere, is they don't want to jump, and that can happen from the start, or that can also happen from pushing their product out to the market and getting feedback. Right. So one thing that I've struggled with is perfectionism almost in my
Hmm.
early stages of this company, um, where I it's not quite right. I don't want to quite push it out to everyone. I want to get to a certain point before I get to that 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 users, right? But there's always going to be new customers, and there's always going to be new people that you can iterate for, and then give them an even better product than what you have right now. And a lot comes from getting your product in the hands of the people who are actually going to be using your product and hearing what they have to say. So just learning that, and learning that it doesn't have to be perfect right away, um, is probably the biggest thing that I've taken away from being an early founder.
No, that's great stuff. We saw, I think maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I don't know, exactly when this episode will come out, but a few weeks ago, anyways, we saw all the social platforms crash across the United States. We've seen all kinds of things, financial things crash. So even, with all their billions of dollars and backing and top performers, things aren't always going to be perfect. We run into challenges and things change. So that was one of the hurdles that we had too, was especially in education, right? Because people are going to hold you to a higher standard of accountability with education than, anything else. It's on a daily basis. While we had this problem logging into here, we're using an amazing software to film this podcast on, but we had troubles with it, on the
Mm-hmm.
connectivity to film this
Right.
episode, and we would think nothing of it. Not one time was I cussing the product itself. It was just, a standard part of our day. But when it comes to education, they almost hold us to a higher standard, and not almost, they do. So I understand that a lot. Your product just came into the app
Right.
store. Tell us about that excitement, nervousness, some of the emotions you went
I mean,
through
it's
doing
what you
that.
build towards. Like you go through these months and months of ups and downs, and you're designing and building and testing, and once it's finally a real thing and it's really out there for the market, it's one of the best feelings in the world. It's like, for me, it was like scoring a goal, or it was like, making the varsity team or making a pro team, right? So it's really amazing, and we're at a point where we are still iterating, and we're pretty close to where we want to be and where we want to really start inviting everyone to join. Obviously, we want everyone to join now, but um, we're really close to where I think we're going to be able to take off. And it's just super exciting. That process, getting on the App Store, all the compliance and everything with Apple, Google, everything, that was new to me. Also, this is stuff that you don't learn in school. A lot of this, I learned more over my first 6 to 8 months running this company than I probably did over my first 18 years of my life. So, um,
I
yeah,
promise you.
it's pretty amazing.
The things that you learn when building something are so unique and so different, towards what school teaches you. And I'm not here to knock school. We're in the education technology space. So clearly, I believe that education is important, but there's just nothing that's going to prepare you for real world challenges like jumping
Yeah,
into it. You mentioned earlier that one of the most important things that you can say is just taking the first step and doing it. And it's not just in starting a company. I think it's in anything, whether it's a fitness path, whether it's content creation, whether it's, whatever that looks like. Being able to overcome the fear of that first step is probably 90% of the
for sure.
challenge. So, young people, if you can do that and just like close your eyes, take that first step, and spot the landing as you're falling, I think that it's
Yeah.
not as bad as it, we all make it to be in our
Yeah. I mean,
heads.
I think
I
jumping into the deep end is really the the way to do it. I mean, that's pretty much
For
anything.
sure.
When I was learning Spanish, I studied for about a year before I moved to Argentina when I was 10 years old. And when I got there, I basically couldn't hold a conversation with anyone. And then after 3 months of living fully immersed in the culture, I was fluent. So like, there's so many crossovers. You just have to throw yourself into it and deal, roll with the punches. And, that's the best way to learn anything, I think.
Yeah, just jump off and have no choice but to learn. I actually, two of my sisters grew up in Venezuela, and it wasn't till they moved to America where their English really started
Yeah.
taking off. You know what I mean? And I live in Texas, and so do they. So it's a very Spanish speaking
Yeah.
state, but the until you're, forced into doing it, you really don't see as much growth as when you're voluntarily trying to move the needle. Obviously, college, network, education. What are some of the things that you're really leveraging, people that you met in
Yeah.
school today to try and help you grow? Like, how are you utilizing that college network that you built over the last few
Yeah.
years playing soccer to help you grow?
So I think that the most valuable part of college is your network, right? You're able to you're in this organization where everyone wants you to succeed. Your professors, your advisors, the president, your your fellow classmates, everyone wants everyone from that organization to succeed. Um, so it's really like a baby step in learning how to network, because these people are all receptive from the get. So um, for me, I didn't learn that until my last semester of college, because I was just a student athlete. I was like, I was a finance guy. I majored in business administration with a concentration in finance and management. So I was
Mhm.
thinking, I'm good in school. what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get through school all on my own. I'm going to go get a normal finance job and take off from there. But in my last semester, when I was starting this company, I just started to ask professors, ask coaches, advisors, everything like that for help. And now a lot of those people are really close advisors to me today, and still helping, still giving me great feedback. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's imperative that you start early and you really build up that network in your community that really wants you to succeed. Yeah.
I, I don't think that we can place enough stress on that. Use university while you're there to build your network, meet people, and it's a less awkward position. Everybody's there to have
Yeah.
fun. They're willing to meet you. You know what I mean? There's the odd time where somebody's there where they're not interested in expanding uh, their horizon in some sort of way. You know what I mean? So, and the way that I've used it to even recently, one of my advisors, the Stanford graduate, we had been in negotiations with a VC firm. And when they added me back on LinkedIn, I was like, wow, one of my advisors who's been with us for 2 years graduated with this gentleman. So when I called T, I'm like, hey, how well do you know this individual? He's like, well, our wives are really good friends. We graduated together. We've stayed in touch since graduating. So think about how far that
Yeah.
moved the needle when they were doing, their overview on whether they wanted to dive in due diligence
Yeah.
with our company or not. But because they had a relationship and T could speak to him on a personal level and talk to them about our drive and
Yeah.
commitment, it kind of let down their guard a little bit. So young people, or anybody listening to this, really take advantage of those opportunities. As a young individual still, how do you think that people from your generation, your age category could really help mold education to grow today? We're diving into AI, we're seeing these changes in real time, but education is still not where it needs to be. That's why you're coming into this space. How are some ways that we can all work together and keep molding
Yeah.
education to grow with us as technology
So
changes?
I think a problem is that in the US the job satisfaction rate is only 50%, right? So that means half, 150 million people pretty much hate what they do. So, which I think is terrible. Um, and I think a lot of education should be focused towards what you really are passionate about and what you really want to pursue, because productivity, um, you know, job satisfaction, all these different things will go up if you actually enjoy what you're doing. So I think really researching the options that are out there rather than just following what your dad did or what your mom did, or, like these typical careers that you grew up seeing. You pretty much only have access to your coach, your teacher, and your parents. And those are the careers that
Right.
you see.
Mm-hmm.
So, really seeing what's out there and learning about all these different opportunities, I think could really benefit, um, the workforce later on in the coming years. But yeah, for education, I think focusing in on what you really are interested in. And I'm a big advocate for being a jack of all trades. I think that there's a lot to learning the basics of almost every industry, because you never know when the
Right.
dots are going to connect, right? So, a designer might come into contact with an architect, and an architect might come into contact with a finance guy, and you have to kind of understand it all. But to really be an expert, focus in on what you really enjoy and find what you really enjoy. I think a problem is that we just kind of a lot of people go to college and they say, oh, I don't really know what I want to do, so I'm going to be a business major. So
Right.
I think really making that decision early of what you are interested in, and it doesn't have to be what pays the most either. There are people that make plenty of money doing these really unique jobs, but you really just have to follow what you're passionate about, I think.
I 100% agree with that. Before I ever got into Ed Soma, the company that I lead now, I built a manufacturing facility and it did millions of dollars a year in revenue. And from a money standpoint, I couldn't have asked for anything. You know, it was functioning like a well-oiled machine, but it was a
Yeah.
job. And I never came from an education background. When I got into education and I saw the potential to influence lives and bring value to them, I no longer had a job. It was fun getting up. It was fun learning what I didn't know. It was fun talking to people like yourself, where, making an impact is ultimately the mission. Um, and I think that you don't have to look at everything head on when you're looking for a job. Find something you love and then try and combine it with something that interests you as well and see how you can change the
Yeah.
mold. All the great things that we use today didn't come from people that typically were in that space. You know what I mean? These are all people that came into it from a different angle or perspective, and they've changed the way we looked at things. I'm sure that they weren't professional Uber driver or cab drivers when they built Uber. You
Right.
know what I mean? It was just a need or something that they felt like they wanted to change for themselves, and they came up with a new concept around it. And now, unless you're in New York or Las Vegas, I don't know if you even order a taxi
That's
anymore.
probably true.
The rest of the world uses an Uber. So some of the things that you've learned through building your business that you've implemented into your life, what would something be there?
I mean, I have some great culinary experts on my platform, so I make new meals every day. But no, I learn a lot. I think the best thing is that I'm surrounded by these amazing people, these creators that they're behavioral scientists, they're astrophysicists. There's these really incredible people that have done incredible things with their lives and their careers. So I'm learning from people way smarter than me and way more accomplished than me. And I like to surround myself with people like that. I like to be I don't want to say the dumbest guy in the room, but I do like to surround myself with people who push me to be better. So that's one thing that I've learned a lot is just to keep surrounding yourself with top level people. And through just the nature of of Dabble, those are the types of people that we deal with daily, and I love it.
That was an awesome answer, Brian. I'm excited to learn more about your product. I find myself endlessly scrolling through Instagram or TikTok looking for something that can teach me something. And my wife asked me this morning, she's like, "Is that really what you watch on social media?" And I'm like, "Well, what else is
Yeah,
better on here?" You know what I mean? So if I can convert that into straight up
yeah,
educational opportunities, I'm gonna
yeah.
be
I
a
mean,
user. So you've
yeah,
got my buy-in
great.
for sure. How can we find it? If anybody wanted to reach out to you, I do have, where we post this stuff. My main followers are young founders like yourself, but uh, VCs. I've had over 100 different meetings with VCs while raising money in
Yeah.
my journey. So a lot of them I'm LinkedIn on are connected with on LinkedIn. If they wanted to reach out and talk to you, how would they find you?
I'm not easy to, or I'm very easy to find. My LinkedIn is my first name, last name. We have a website, www.dabblediscovery.co. You can search the app in either the Google Store or the App Store, Dabbl Discovery. It's easy to find me, and I never turn down a meeting. That's one thing that I've always said is no matter who you meet with, you can always learn something. So I never turn down a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Well, you didn't turn down this opportunity. I learned a lot, and hopefully, being on the pod, you get some value out of it. We're definitely going to share your information underneath this and the information stuff. So, Ryan, thank you so much. I appreciate your time coming on the show, and I can't wait to see how Dabble changes lives.